If you are going to learn to play like Stevie Ray Vaughan this way, this is exactly what you have to do. Today, I'm excited because we're finishing up this series called the SRV Sky is Crying Blueprint. This video is where we get down to the brass tacks of learning. We're going to be in the trenches. Remember that journey that I talked about a couple of times where I was stuck, but I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan and I knew I wanted to learn how to play like him. And then a little while later, I was called up on stage. I was at a bar with some friends and I got called up to play The Sky is Crying, and I got to play the song in front of a crowd, and it was like the greatest thing I had ever experienced. In between those two events was a journey where I was in the trenches learning. And my mission as a teacher is to help people out of that, because a lot of people get in there and they never get past the point where they're struggling. So I'm going to show you what it took for me to get across there, kind of the hard way. And then I'm going to tell you after that why it doesn't have to be as hard. Now there's a triangle in the software development world. It's like good, fast, or cheap. Pick two. You can have something that's good and you can have it fast, but it's not going to be cheap. You can have something that's cheap and fast, but it's not going to be good. That's not a perfect metaphor, but what I'm going to show you here is cheap and it is good, but it is not fast. It takes you time. First thing you need to do is take a song that might seem like a big long blob of information and you want to divide it into choruses. In blues, 12-bar blues, each 12-bar round is considered a chorus. So you want to map it out, verse 1, verse 2, solo 1, solo 2, verse 3. This would be the outline for the studio version of The Sky is Crying. So now you don't have one big long solo to learn. You have 5 individual pieces to learn, and you can pat yourself on the back after each one. The next thing that you want to do is don't think about verse 1 as a big thing. Think of it as a series of lick 1, lick 2, lick 3, lick 4, lick 5, so on and so forth. What you define as lick 1 or lick 2 is completely up to you. But once you do this, once you visualize the song, each chorus as a collection of licks, now it becomes easier to visualize what you need to work on. So as we get in here, I am working on verse 1. I have loaded up here a bootleg of Stevie Ray Vaughan playing The Sky is Crying, and I'm using a tool called 29a.ch/timestretch. This is a free online tool you can upload an MP3 to, and you can do a loop and everything, so I wanted to keep it using free tools. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play it, and I'm going to get to the point where I hear the first lick. In. All right, so I'm going to slow it down to half speed here, and I'm going to go through the thought process that I would go through if I were trying to learn this for the first time. I'm playing it at half speed here. I'm going to listen for what soloing position he's using. So the first thing you hear is... So even if I don't know that position, I can go up here to box 2. I can hear that note is something that doesn't happen in box 2. So that makes sense that would be in box 1. Okay, now let's listen to the rest of it. Okay, so I got some idea. So once I have the notes down, now I need to think about timing. What notes is he playing that fall on a specific beat? Okay, right there. That one right there falls on a beat. And then... Okay, so now I got the notes and I'm thinking about the timing. One of the last things you need to think about is which notes are accented and the trajectory of different bends. So let's listen to this again a little bit faster. Okay, so when I'm listening to this, I'm listening to the trajectory of that bend, and I'm going to try and match that. Okay, let's see how we do so far. Okay, so I feel like I've got that one, so now I'm going to reset my loop and I'm going to move on to the next lick. Start my loop. Okay, I can tell already this one sounds like it happens entirely in box 2, so I'm just kind of making a mental note of that. So I hear okay. So I feel like I've got that one. So here is the next step of the process. Not move on to the next lick, but you need to review what you already learned. Because as I work on lick 2, lick 1 has already started to fade from my memory because I haven't put enough reps in. I got lick 1 and lick 2, and now I'm going to practice them together as a phrase. Okay, and I would basically repeat that enough times until I can get the timing and everything correct. So that is really it. That's the whole process. But it's, look how much time I spent on just that little bit right there, okay? I have the rest of the whole performance to get through. And so I did all that work for the first 2 licks of the first verse. I haven't even gotten through the first verse yet. But this is the reality. If you are going to learn to play like Stevie Ray Vaughan this way, this is exactly what you have to do. It is cheap and it is good because you're developing your ears, but it is not fast. So how was I able to do it? And how are some other players able to do it if it seems this complicated and this time-consuming? It comes down to a couple of factors about when you learn and the elasticity of your brain. So when I learned, I was in college and I had tons and tons and tons of free time. Other kids, when they learn, typically learn fast when they don't have the responsibility of a job or a family or other things like that. The reality for a lot of you is that you're not in that position where you have unlimited free time. You're also not as young as I was when I learned, and as young as a lot of kids who turn into child prodigies. Your brain is more elastic when you're young. That much is just scientific. Kids are more impressionable, for better or worse. For better, they can learn things faster sometimes than people who are older. So what I showed you there, that process of breaking a song down mentally into choruses and breaking choruses into licks, and then memorizing licks, and then reviewing phrases, it is possible, but there's no way around the time required. So that's kind of a sobering reality that you just might not have enough time and enough brain elasticity to learn things the hard way, the cheap way. But the good news is there is a better way. And I've spent the last 17 years honing my craft to make it easier than what I just showed you. If there had been an easier way, I probably would have taken it, but I had no choice. And so what I'm going to tell you in my next video is how I've used the process that I've outlined here, and I've turned that into my career. I have modeled all of my courses. I have modeled my approach to teaching. I have modeled the tools that I've built for my members after that process, and I have tried to remove as many of the hurdles as possible so you can focus on learning. So the bad news is you might not be able to do what I did the way that I did it. But the good news is you don't have to, because there is a better way and an easier way. And in my next video, I'm going to tell you all about it, but it's only going to be available for a short period of time. So make sure you watch for that video. Make sure you watch for that email, and I'll see you next time.